Wow. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, members of the NYU Abu Dhabi community, colleagues from New York, all those watching online, thank you for being with us on this special day. Your families of our graduates, thank you for the support you've given them, for trusting us with their well-being during these sometimes tumultuous years. And finally, class of 2022, look at you. We've been saying it all day long, but isn't it great that we're here in person? I think the fact that we keep saying it is a little bit of PTSD. I'm going to say it one more time. Isn't it great that we're here together in person? So the last time I addressed your class was fall of 2018 during Marhaba in the Red Theater. I took a really grainy selfie that I posted on Instagram the other day. We had no idea then that so much of our time together would be spent in remote learning. And some of you, even though Marriott thinks that I've met you all individually, some of you may not even remember me before Zoom. And if that's the case, you may have thought I would be taller. I've been told I give tall energy on Zoom. But in any case, here we are in the flesh, and it's an amazing honor to be addressing you. I also need to get one thing straight up front. I'm not Taylor Swift. I'm 100% sure that I did not get this invitation because I wrote a pop song called 22. I Googled it. I'm not even as tall as Taylor is. It's okay, I'll shake it off. I did listen, as you can tell, I did listen to Taylor's speech a few times. I was nervous about giving this one. I noticed she used inspirational anecdotes from her career with clever references to her greatest hits, and so I asked myself, do I have greatest hits? And can I use them to do something similar today? And so don't worry, I'm not here to tell you to engage your core. I'm not here to wish you good morning on Instagram from a sunrise run behind the campus. But as I think back over my decade at NYU Abu Dhabi, one topic does suggest itself above the rest. Contagion. I'm going to go there. Back in 2012, when I created a class called Contagion to teach during my first semester here, I didn't realize that it would eventually feel more like fact than fiction. I knew I was designing a course that drew on literature from around the world and across time to ask big questions about human experience, because that's the point of the core, after all. Over time, my students helped me understand that the course's big question boiled down to this: are we too connected? The answer we've generally arrived at is no, and that our very vulnerability to contagion is what potentially unites us. Our connection is a starting point, a fact, from which approaches to public health and community building should spring. Teaching this class during the pandemic has also made me wonder if the question, are we too connected, somehow gets it all backwards. What kind of fears or privilege or inequality does such a question even encode or cover over? What if the real problem is that we're not connected enough? What if our ties are uneven and our networks segregated and our interests ultimately selfish? Over and over, the literature of Contagion teaches us that the plague reveals who we really are. From my vantage point, the pandemic showed you, the class of 2022, to be fierce advocates for the well-being of our student body as a whole, through all manners of trauma near and far. Working closely with many of you during the pandemic, I heard you express one anxiety over and over. Would we, your teachers, truly appreciate what you've been through and respond with compassion? I hope the answer has been yes. Personally, I learned something invaluable from my pandemic teaching. One of you, and I won't name names, but it was Yemen, wrote to me in advance of the fall of 2020 semester to say that he was worried that taking a class about contagion in the midst of COVID could be bad for his mental health. I resolved right then to make the course and all of my teaching from now until I someday, inshallah, retire, a resource for mental health rather than a hindrance. I hope that the literature we read together in that class, as difficult as it sometimes got, offered solace and solidarity and survival skills. If it did, it's precisely because these works teach us the value of connection and compassion. Who says, after all, that we can't build a more compassionate world? Who says that our connections can't strengthen as we work to eradicate inequality, violence, and apartheid? In that regard, your class's concerns are my own, and I will carry the lessons that I learned from you with me through the rest of my career. In closing, I want us to go back past that Marhaba 2018 moment, even a little bit further into the past, all the way back to your candidate weekend experience. I have some pictures from that too. At that point, gathered in one of the forums downstairs from where you're sitting right now, would have asked you to take a deep breath. Maybe you need to do it again. I would have told you something about the core curriculum and its big questions. And I would have challenged you later in the day to race me to the top of the dunes when we visited the desert. And when you got there, ideally just as the sun was beginning to set over the sand, I wanted you to ask yourself, what did you hope to get out of your 4 years here that went beyond mere preparation for the job market? And I'm going to challenge you again today. When you find yourself alone and in a quiet moment, ask yourself, what did you gain here beyond a degree? My hunch is that the answer will have something to do with the experience of shared vulnerability and connection. Have you made some connections to people, ideas, or places that you didn't expect to when you started? Here's what two of you, Yasmin and Tatiana, had to say in that regard in a recent essay about radical friendship. Yeah, it's okay. They wrote that despite differences in upbringing, identity, or background, the winds of coincidence has brought us together, and that it's only when the community as a collective is well that I am well. What Yasmin and Tatiana teach us, what they've taught me anyway, is that by multiplying and strengthening our connections, not fearing them, will we rebuild a better world. It's my hope that in spite of all the challenges you've faced, and it really has been messed up sometimes, it's my hope that in spite of all of the challenges that you've faced, that you've experienced community in some measure here, and that you'll carry it with you throughout the rest of your lives. For my part, standing here with you today, reflecting on our journey together, I know that I will. And so, we did it. It's an honor to count myself among you as a graduate of this institution. Congratulations, class of 2022. Thanks for letting us be part of your last 4 years.